our consulting physician, Dr. Nick Borja. Welcome, Dr. Nick.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm excellent. Actually, I've been getting some good sleep recently, and as I'm finding out that you're going to discuss today with us, good sleep with my wife, my partner, and apparently, I guess what we've been doing is good for our health, and that's what you're going to talk about today. Is really, I want you to elaborate on it because it sounds all common sense, I guess, to me in my lifestyle, but I want to hear what you have to say and how it affects folks out there and how they can improve their health.
Great. Yeah. Sleep is one of the new ways that people are becoming, we all have busy lives and try to cut corners by reducing the amount of sleep we get. And science is starting to catch up and help us realize that sleep is incredibly important. The time we spend resting is really a critical opportunity for our body to recover from the day and also do a lot of maintenance that we need in general for our health. So some sleep researchers recently did a study where instead of looking at individuals, which is typically how sleep research is done, they looked at couples. And they wanted to understand what was the influence of healthy partner relationships on sleep quality. And what they found is that sleeping with a partner didn't really influence any part of the sleep cycle except for the deep sleep part of our cycle known as REM sleep or REM sleep. That's the part of our sleep that's where we're normally having all these vivid dreams. And actually during that part of sleep, our limbs are paralyzed because otherwise we'll act out our dreams. So it's a very active part of our sleep cycle, even though it's a deep sleep.
Okay, deep sleep, is this the most important part of being asleep? This is the most effective and rebuilding part? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think you could say that. It certainly is a very important part of our sleep cycle, but there are several different components, all which seem to have slightly different functions and are all important in their own way. But REM sleep is really, it's very particular in what's going on during that phase of sleep. So it's one that I think we're all at least tangentially aware of.
All right, perfect. Okay, so this study that you have read and are going to talk to us about deals with couples. So before we get too far into it, something I was thinking is, what does this mean if you're sleeping by yourself? Is this going to have any impact on you, or yes or no?
No, this study was really looking at the influence of couples because something that I think probably a lot of people can relate to is sleeping with another person comes with, good and bad. Sometimes we feel like, oh gosh, this person's moving around, they're making noise, they're snoring, that's disturbing me and the quality of sleep I'm getting. And so the researchers in part wanted to understand whether sleeping with another person and the movement associated with sleeping with another person actually impaired sleep quality. And that was one of the key findings of the study, is that actually even when people reported, oh yeah, I didn't get as good a night's sleep because my partner was moving around, in fact, they actually did get the same quality of sleep compared to controls that were individuals sleeping alone, but they didn't necessarily feel like they were getting the same quality of sleep. So,
all right, and it sounds to me like what this is focusing on though is cuddling, touching. Is that the key in all this?
Yeah, the intimacy of the couples weren't directly measured. So I've been when I talk about it, sometimes I say cuddling, but you're sharing the same bed. So some couples were actually, very physically interlocked. Others were sleeping next to each other in the same bed, but not necessarily on top of one another. So.
Okay, so this study then just talks about sleeping with someone that I guess is a big part of your life that you care about more so than most folks maybe in your lives.
Yeah.
and that's really all we can. That's the only metric, I suppose, that was used in this. Is that right?
Well, they did actually try to measure and quantify the depth of the relationship, because one of the things they wanted to see is if people who are sharing the same bed, if they've been a couple for a really long time, does that make their sleep cycles more likely to synchronize versus couples that have only been together for a short amount of time? In the same way, they wanted to know, do couples where there's a lot of snoring or moving going on, does that impair this synchronization of sleep cycles compared to couples who both lie very quietly? So they were trying to measure, they used the best possible ways of quantifying all of these variables. Obviously, there's some subjectivity involved, but they did try to quantify them. And actually, interestingly, in the same way that movement and snoring didn't seem to really impact the quality of sleep that the participants got, similarly, as long as the couples were in some sort of intimate relationship, the length of the relationship didn't seem to impact the synchronicity that was going on as far as the REM sleep cycle stage.
Okay, so what is the takeaway for us in terms of
Yeah.
health?
So I think the big takeaway from this study is that REM sleep is really important for fighting stress. A lot of the activation that happens in REM sleep, and that's why so often our vivid dreams are scary dreams or nightmares, because that is a time in our sleep cycle when a lot of the areas in our brain associated with stress, the amygdala and so forth, get activated and are known to be firing based on other studies, functional MRI studies, where we can see particular parts of the brain that are active. And so we know that REM sleep stage is highly associated with stress, and that also couples who sleep in the same bed tend to have lower incidence of mental illness. So the researchers in part were trying to see, could the reason couples have lower likelihood, lower risk of developing mental illness, could it be related to some part of the sleep cycle? And indeed, they found that couples sleeping together are likely to have 10% higher quality REM sleep. And because REM sleep is associated with lower stress, that they do believe that sharing the same bed may be the causal explanation for lower stress.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. I mean, everybody always talks about, I think most people feel like having a life partner, depending upon what that might mean to you as an individual, is an important goal in life. And it sounds to me like this is basing, your future good health on it as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is, in some ways, what's interesting is that I think part of the idea from this study is it's a little counterintuitive that sharing a bed with someone who's potentially disruptive, you might think, oh, that's hurting the quality of my sleep. But
Right.
in fact, they're probably helping the quality of your sleep, which, I think for a lot of guys, that's an interesting idea that at least was foreign to me when I first heard it.
Yeah.
And, I think it's also reinforces this idea that, in the same way, I think for us, for a while, food seemed like, it may have seemed like not a very powerful modality for health compared to medications and surgery.
So,
In the same way, I think sleep is actually showing itself to be much more powerful than we may have anticipated for our health.
well, that's good to know. Okay. Well, not only that sleep is important, but some specific reasons here as to why and practical applications. So I appreciate you letting us know about this, Dr. Nick. We all know, I think that, food is, I think probably you and I both agree that food is the most important, probably the largest benefit area, but all these areas, all these other areas that connect in someone's lifestyle are still very, very important and absolutely have either a positive or negative, just as the food that you eat does as well. So.
Yeah, and one of the most exciting ways research is evolving in the lifestyle medicine space is that, all of these areas don't just connect directly to our health, but they all connect to one another. So for some, patients that I've worked with, getting a good night's sleep ends up being the first step that they need to make in order to have the self-control to eat better. And then, eating better unlocks their ability to exercise. So all of these things are all interconnected. So I think it's really important to think holistically about health, because you can eat incredibly well, but if you're not taking care of your body in other ways, you may be losing out on the powerful benefits of a plant-based diet.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, how can folks connect with you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone who's interested. My website, nickborjamd.com, has more information about the services I offer and a way to get in touch with me directly for a free consultation.
All right, excellent. Well, we look forward to more talks with you in the near future. And I encourage folks to reach out to Dr. Nick if you have any questions about anything specific going on in your life. He's the guy you want to ask. And look forward just to our next talk. And stay in good health, Dr. Nick, and everyone else. Until then, and let us know your comments. Any kind of feedback, please let us know down below in the comments on these videos.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mike.
You're welcome. All right, bye-bye.